Good morning. It's Wednesday, August 30th. And I read an article, or I watched an article actually this morning, about legacy admissions to colleges and stuff. And many of these legacy students who are on this article are basically against legacy admissions right now. And they recognize the fact that legacy admissions are not fair. They have an advantage over other students who are applying to those colleges. Just because their parents have done well and they get into the school, and then obviously these kids come from wealthier families because they're legacy kids. And their parents made out very well because their parents went to these good schools. And I'm not talking about City College of New York or one of the state schools like Binghamton and stuff like that. These are the top-of-the-line schools, right? Cornell, Harvard, Yale, those types of schools, Ivy League schools. So those schools still have legacy admissions. And these students were basically against legacy admissions, saying they weren't fair. And they're not really fair because these students are getting in because their parents went there. They're not necessarily good students, but I bet you they are very good students. And we couldn't have legacy students when I was a kid. And we went to City College, and you got into City College in one of two ways. You had great grades in high school, so they took you right away, or you passed the entrance exam. And I was one of those students who had good grades in high school. Not great, good grades in high school, good enough to get into City College. But I didn't go right to City College. I went to work for a couple of years. And by the time I finished working those three years, and I decided it was time to go to college, my grades weren't good enough to get me in anymore. So I had to pass the entrance exam, which I did, and I went to City College. And that's a whole other story because it took me a long time to graduate, but I graduated. Then I went back there again and I got a master's degree. And so I went to city universities, and it cost me nothing at all to go to school. $4 a semester in the beginning, and in grad school, I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't a heck of a lot of money. And people don't have that advantage anymore. There aren't any great public schools that are reasonably priced. State universities cost $20,000 or something. Schools, the better schools are costing $60,000 or $70,000. But legacy would give these people an advantage to get in, and so they want it to end. And I don't know why the colleges should not be in favor of that. I guess it's because if it's a legacy kid, they know these people have the money and they know something about the parents, and therefore they think that translates to the child who's a legacy. That's pretty good, but a lot of these legacy students were embarrassed to be legacy students. And a lot of them did admit that they were legacy students because the other students might not like them as much, might not feel that they got into school when they really didn't deserve it. And I'll bet you that's true. I'll bet you there are legacy students who get into colleges and they really don't deserve it. They really haven't done the work that was necessary to get into school, but mom or pop give donations to the college, and mom or pop have a lot of other friends and relationships that count, and they get you through the doors. And that's not an unusual cycle in this world. There are many people that get jobs because of that, right? So legacy admissions are under attack, and these students who are on this video are in favor of ending legacies. And I don't know why the colleges would be reluctant to end legacies, because these are colleges that people want to go to. But maybe a legacy has a leg up, so to speak, and the admissions officers don't have to work as hard if they say, well, this is Joe Blow's daughter or Michelle's daughter or something like that, or son, and they take them into school based upon that. They don't even have to do a lot of research and make sure that this is a qualified student if they're a legacy. Or if they see a legacy student fills out all the proper papers, but then writes on it in big letters, "I'm a legacy," and they get into the college. So I think the legacies, while they might have been very good for a lot of people over a long period of time, are pretty much doomed, and they will probably end soon, just like the rest of affirmative action has ended, right? And I'm against really affirmative action in the first place, because I believe that the way to get into college is to have good grades, and I believe that testing will prove that you have good grades. Unfortunately, the downside of that argument is that not everybody comes from a city or a state where the educational system is good or better. Like if you go to school in New York or California, you will probably get a good education no matter which school system you go to in those states, because they have money and they value education and they take care of it. But if you come from a state like Mississippi or Arkansas or North Carolina, you're not going to get the same education that you get in New York or California. And that's an unfortunate situation in this country. And the legacy system on top of that probably makes the situation worse. But what are we going to do if we can't convince states like Mississippi and Missouri to upgrade their education, to spend more on their education? And Kentucky, those states are terrible. And the only reason that people go to Kentucky or University of Kentucky is because they can play basketball or something. There's no reason in this world, in this country, that we should have inferior educational systems in any states. All the states should be under fire and under examination. And colleges, if the colleges really wanted to do a good job, they could say, we're not taking anybody from your state because of the quality of education that you offer these students. Now, wouldn't that be a kick in the head, right? If colleges refuse students from particular states just on the basis of the fact that the educational system in those states sucked. And maybe they had a special test for students who came from poor educational systems. That would be a wonderful thing. But then that would be discriminatory. People would yell, that's discrimination. I live in Mississippi and I can't get into a good college. And maybe the state would have a better college if that was the case. So education in this country is a fact of life, and it's proven that those who are well educated get a better chance at the rest of their life. And it's a sorry thing that we can't say that for 100% of the students in this country. So I leave you with that this morning. Legacy admissions are on the way out.